You go against the narrative and the establishment may attack you. And not just to censorship, but they attacked and tried to destroy people's lives for just disagreement. That's not America. That's not freedom. You have a different opinion, you have a different view, your life should not be destroyed. Going on, these tribunals' efforts are actually building a void of information, right? An ironclad single narrative where no other exchanges of ideas are permitted. In a republic, by the way, you need an exchange of ideas. Who runs the government? You, the people. We, the people. And the states and the federal government share power in a republic. So you need the information. It's not for the super 0.01% top of those serving you, by the way, the supposed statesmen that are serving you. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button. So of course you need the information to be able to elect the correct person to send to represent whom? You. So you need the information because it's a republic. They serve you. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Remember that? All right, going on. It curtails your ability to communicate with others and therefore your ability to verify reality. That's important, right? Others of you choose. If you only see this narrative pushed, and you can't get any dissenting opinions, you may be sitting there thinking, man, I thought it was this. I had read this. I had read all these history books. I thought the Constitution meant this, but these judges and these guys and these clowns say this. You get to talk to other people, gives you what? Either new information or validation or, oh, I was thinking right. I understood it well, right? How do you keep and stay with what's going on? A great group of friends will be able to read this and that and this and that, and then you can share information and not have to trust the establishment media, which we can't, right, at all. All right, she goes on to say this. Let's go back to the piece. If we let this go on indefinitely, civil society will ultimately collapse, right? Because a republic can't stand this way. You've got to have free speech in a republic, or it's not a republic, really, that will function well. And we're a limited government republic. What was ratified was a limited government. They wrote that Bill of Rights in to protect you and restrain the federal government, just as it always does in regimes that put a lid on free expression. Consider how the freedoms are ordered in the First Amendment. She goes on to say it starts specifically with freedom of religion, belief, conscience, thought. Then freedom of speech is noted, giving you the right to express your conscience. Next, freedom of the press means you have a right to record your thoughts in writing and other media in regards to what? The federal government, ladies and gentlemen. The federal government. Freedom of association gives you the right to deliver your ideas. You may have the better idea. This person may have the better idea. How will you know it if you don't hear it? This is important. You've got to be able to hear ideas. And you can present your ideas to anyone willing to listen. They don't have to listen. You also have the right to get together with people peacefully. And the power elites have no business listening in. Right? Big one. We could stay here a long time now. You need to be able to get together with your friends and others and share information. Think of the value of friendships and fellowships and the enrichment. Think of how much Aristotle valued it. Enriches you, gives you new information, gives you fulfillment. It can give you information or validation. Think of Patrick Henry and the others meeting in taverns to discuss great ideas. All right, going on. If any of these rights are violated, you have the right to petition your government with your grievances to fight back against that abuse of power peacefully. Right? Peacefully. The order of freedoms is instructive. It shows an interconnected, interdependent loop that works in both directions. What you think is really the source of what? What you think is really the source of what? What you speak, right? Where do thoughts come from? Not just in a vacuum, right? You have to be able to go see John Wilson, go see Brian Kaiser, go see the people you know, and freely associate with them. And by the way, if you can have a good cigar with it, cigars are just great for a conversation. They're fantastic. Good, deep, long conversations with cigars and building of that camaraderie and friendship. But anyway, you talk and you develop your ideas. Maybe you think of a new business idea. You develop your thoughts by talking to other great men. You develop the ability to think on your own. Think of the groups and what we do there. Read a speech. You get to think about it, process it, contemplate it, and you hear these interesting speeches throughout history and philosophy in different places. And you can think about World War II, or you can think about the founding of the country and hear their words, contemplate on it as you hear it read like a speech should be read in the group. Then we go around and we discuss it, right? And you get to hear the valuable opinions of other excellent men, as well as the valuable opinion of the man giving the person that wrote the speech. Hearing the words of the speech at the time it was done. How has the country changed? What does that make you reflect upon? What does it make you think about? How much freedom has been lost from that time to now? The words and how it's written, how they talk versus today. We could do a whole couple of hours and stop right here. Does it expand your thoughts? Of course it does. Are you listening? Your ability to talk and develop yourself, your ability to express your ideas, have an argument, or your ability to listen clearly, and process the information and think. Many universities today don't teach you to think, they teach you what to think. So you might have to be in a group to learn how to think, or reading books. You also have the opportunity to hear about the books these men are reading, or the articles they're reading, then you can go read those, right? So again, go back to imagine, if you're not allowed to go there, you're not allowed to meet with that group of exceptional men. You're shut down at your house, only getting your news service fed by the establishment media and the government. What does that do to you? What does that do to society? What does that do to freedom? Shuts it down all the way. How do you express yourself if you can't write? If you can't speak? If you can't meet anyone? If you can't assemble? Who would benefit from that? Not you. You know who. Easier to control. Easier to control the message. What you hear, because you can't get out with people and hear a diverse opinion or a validating opinion. Okay, let's go back to the piece. So if you have given up on privacy being a, quote, thing of the past and believe you to be okay with state-regulated your speech, some people are, by the way. They want hate speech laws. They want censorship. It's a terrible, frightening poll about America. We're the different country. Then maybe you don't understand that once your speech is regulated, then your relationships are susceptible. And this is the big point. This is why we're doing this article, that your relationships are susceptible to state control as well. And you saw it, you lived through it. So this is very important. The federal government has no business in your relationships. They don't have the constitutional authority. And we're huge on human relationships, connections, camaraderie, fellowship. So this is an important piece. Let's go back to the piece. Keep going down that road and you end up in a state of what? Virtual solitary confinement. And boy, wouldn't they love that, right? The totalitarians would love for you to sit alone in a 15-minute prison in a cube and being fed all your information. Get on Netflix. We'll send you the movies you're allowed to watch. Don't go see friends. We'll give you a 15-minute time gap. You can go to the grocery store real quick and get some rice. We'll just deliver it to your door. You need to go outside. And some people today might be okay with that. So what is our job? Our job is to talk to them about freedom and how important it is and how quickly and rapidly we can lose it. Okay, here's another good quote who wrote some good books. Her book on origins of totalitarianism is good. Here's the quote. Political philosopher Hannah Arendt noted that all totalitarian systems depend upon what? Cultivating social isolation in people. Cut you off. Cut you off. Move to totalitarian society. Great book. We've also talked about groups can break mass formation psychosis, right? So you want to get in a group. Apple vision is scary, but we'll go into that another day. We don't really want you isolated unless it's your choice. She goes on. Isolation renders people powerless. Yes, right? You're stronger together than isolated. What can you do by yourself in a room, standing peacefully with ideas, rather than in a large group? Hence why you see many attacks on groups, often by the establishment, both the Uniparty. Remember some Republicans attacking the Tea Party, remember? So if the Uniparty wants power, they don't want some group coming up for freedom. So it's no wonder that freedom of expression is always the first on the chopping block during and after authoritarian takeovers. We don't want that. Look at the communist and fascist governments of the 20th century. They don't like to teach that a lot, do they? Or talk about it a lot. What really happened. Confirms that they were always intent on destroying what? Private life and relationships cut you off. Look at China and Russia, what they did. Remember the Gulag Archipelago, another good book? Anyway, it's a depressing book, but it's true. It's what happened during that time, even though he wrote it as a... Moving on. And look today, again, both sides pushing for hate speech laws. Some sides are pushing for hate speech laws. On both sides, right? The Uniparty. Republicans and Democrats push for certain kinds of hate speech laws that fits their cause and their narrative and who's sponsoring them, right? By the way, Congress can't do hate speech laws, unconstitutional. And governors should not do it with their assemblies. It hurts their state, the republic. Cultural Revolution, 1966, 1976. Chairman Mao unleashed millions of Red Guard youth to promote correct thought. What's correct? Correct communist thought. This means getting rid of the old ideas. We went through this in a piece. Maybe we'll come back to it again. We're not going to go through the whole thing. But you got to get rid of old ideas. What happened in America right now? And then subjecting them to then unwoke ritual humiliations and struggle sessions that would lead to forced and false confessions. Sound familiar? Tearing down our history in the schools today. Tearing down our culture. Ruining our past culture and heroes in Hollywood. Manliness under attack in Hollywood. Running Indiana Jones and the Star Wars franchises. Tearing down that myth. Tearing down statues of the great George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and others. Wipe out that history. And we need that common ground, that bond with the past, so we can be American. But that's not what some factions want. They want to tear down all the past history. And break you from the past. Break you from the bonds of the past. The stated goal of Russia's founders was to wipe out what? All private life. They promoted the idea of the new Soviet man, which meant citizens were to have no personal loyalties. Only total commitment to what? To the state. Now, if you don't want personal loyalties in the United States, you don't want friendships, you don't want strong families, right? And they've worked hard against these certain factions, have worked hard against families, against friendship, against fellowship, dividing us, putting us in rooms, and division, dividing us apart. You don't want the Tea Party, the MAGA movements. No men's clubs, but a strong dose of feminism. And what does she go on to say? Such things lead to the end of social trust, right? With people snitching on neighbors and family members. Remember what happened? We had a guy in LA who was going to host a group and he was afraid the neighbors were going to report him during that shutdown. Going on. Same dynamics played out in a host of oppressive governments, going back to the Reign of Terror. Remember the French Revolution? We see today in communist China where speech is muzzled by a social credit system we talked about at the beginning that demands strict conformity with a regime in exchange for access. By the way, those regimes can change. What's good today can be bad tomorrow. We just don't want it. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about freedom. In America, we now sense some unsettling shadows of the bowl. Recall governors and mayors setting up niche hotlines to inform on neighbors not complying with the mandates. We see leftist speech codes. By the way, we're seeing right speech codes too, right? Those governors, multiple Republican governors, just signed hate speech laws. People have to walk on eggshells to avoid being canceled. What's the narrative? Uniparty narratives. There's certain ones for the Republicans, certain ones for the Democrats that they don't want told, right? Got the neocons. They don't want you to go into their narrative of going to wars. When Twitter mobs smeared Boston Celtics star Kemba Walker for wearing a Gadsden flag, Kurt Chatham, he pleaded ignorance, distancing himself from the flag as a symbol of conservatism. What is that flag? That flag serves as a symbol of the First Amendment, a symbol of the protection of private life. Don't tread on me. I like this part. She says the presumed overlords would prefer we all wear signs that say, tread on me, please, right? Tread on me, please, right? Yes, they would, and they do. They tread on the Uniparty, the establishment. In the end, there are two paths. I guess there's possibly more, but anyway, she breaks it down this way. Pro-thought and the other's anti-thought. Anti-speech allies have put themselves in an anti-thought camp. Anti-speech, anti-thought. That means anti-relationship. G.K. Chesterton said this: there is a thought that stops thought. That is the only thought that ought to be stopped. The Bill of Rights protects your right to choose your friends. Protected from the federal government from blocking you from choosing those friends, restraining the federal government. Your assembly to choose the groups you want to go to and be able to go to those groups, build friendships, build camaraderie, develop your mind, develop thoughts, become a better thinker, become a better man, become a better lady. And we don't believe isolation is good for most people. We certainly believe it's good for the totalitarians, though, and the people who want what? More power. We need fellowship, association, and community. It's one reason for America's strength. De Tocqueville walked and talked about it across America when he wrote the book Democracy in America. The fact that we can be in our community and be better informed and talk to our fellow citizens, talk to our friends, that we can work out differences. We must talk. Let's carry them on and stand peacefully for freedom of speech and freedom of association and freedom of assembly. So we can still be the United States of freedom, the United States of America, where freedom rings. A country where people come to for what? For freedom, for opportunity, to pursue happiness and freedom. A country that protects your right to say what you want and restrains the federal government. A country that allows you to meet a friend and build great and massive friendships. New and deep friendships. A country that allows you to smoke a cigar with a friend and have hours and hours of discussion deeply. Come over to the side that stands for fellowship, friendship, association, and free speech. Thank you. If you like this message, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button.